Look, when you're looking at the news, you have to be, in my opinion, open-minded. You have to be objective and do the best you can. No one's purely objective, not by a long shot. But do the best you can. And you have to try to be fair, of course. But that doesn't mean that you should be neutral, that everything should be 50-50. No, because the whole point of being open-minded and objective is to see what the facts actually are. And the facts are not always 50-50. In fact, they're rarely 50-50. It's because, let me give you an extreme example. In the case of, Ted Bundy versus the state of Florida, if you look at all the facts and then you say, okay, I'm going to be neutral, I think Ted Bundy, the serial killer, is 50% right and the state of Florida is 50% right, you've reached the wrong conclusion. You have this neutrality that has led you in the wrong direction. That's not the point. The point is to look at it and say, yeah, you know what? It turns out he's a serial killer and he's guilty in that case. Now, sometimes you can look at it and say he's not guilty. That's why we have a justice system, right? And that's why we hopefully get the information and make decisions based on that. Now, that's relevant for the two things we just discussed. One is this idea of Obama, once he gets into office, he's going to have to split the baby. He's going to have to do 50-50. Yeah, because Dick Cheney and George Bush did all these harsh things, whether it was torture or kidnapping or illegal spying. Well, okay, right, he said he wouldn't do those things, but then he's the president and he's got to protect the country. So in order to protect the country, he should just split it down the middle and do half of what Cheney and Bush did. No, in my mind, that doesn't make any sense at all. Half of torture is really bad. Maybe it's not quite as bad as full torture with the whole waterboarding shenanigans, but that's a funny word for it, shenanigans. But anyway, but it's still terrible, and it's still unjustifiable, and it still gets you bad results. And there's no need for illegal spying. Do we need legal spying? Of course! We've been doing spying our whole lives, or the whole history of the United States as well. We should be. But we don't need to have it be illegal and do warrantless spying on innocent Americans. We've already seen what that produces. We already have inside sources that told several news agencies, they were on the record, they've been on television saying, yeah, we listened in on soldiers' private phone conversations. It didn't have anything to do with Al-Qaeda. It didn't have anything to do with terrorism. We were just having fun. Sometimes we listen in on phone sex conversations. See, I don't want to go 50% of the way there. I want to go 0% of the way there. Now, as far as legal spying, yeah, do that 100%. It's simple. You go to a court and you say, hey, look, I got even the vaguest idea this guy might be Al-Qaeda. They give you a warrant and you listen as long as you need to listen. That's how you do it. That's the American system. Now, on the Israeli-Palestinian issue, it's the same thing. I had this guy who wrote an open letter to me. He's an Israeli, and I really appreciate it because he seems like a fairly open-minded guy, and he appreciated that we tried to cover it from both sides. His name appears to be, his blog name is Blue to Goo, and he also put up a link to it on our website, and I featured that on theyoungturks.com. And there was a really interesting conversation between all of us, the listeners and Dave, etc., that follows underneath it, and you should check it out. But the bottom line is, he said, Jake, you seem to look at it both sides, but in the end you decided that Israel's more wrong, and I wish you hadn't. And so I question whether you're fully unbiased. But that's the thing. I did look at both sides, and here the facts are Israel did break the ceasefire, as we showed earlier in the show, and as we've showed numerous times now. Even Rick Sanchez on CNN realized it, and he was amazed by it. But broke it on November 4th. And now they claim it's in self-defense, but they did break it, right? Self-defense in that they were bringing in weapons, not using them, Hamas. And we found out that they had never actually fully complied with the ceasefire in the first place. They were supposed to let in 100% of the trucks based on the 2005 levels when they occupied Gaza. Instead, they let in 20% of the trucks. So they never followed it in the first place. And their actions, in this case, have been grossly disproportionate. Why do I care about that? Because there's a lot of innocent civilians dying. So when you look at it, you don't come out 50-50 on this one, or at least I don't. And I could be wrong, and no one's perfectly fair or objective, least of which is me. I'm not any of those things, but I try my best. You look at it, and I got to tell you, Blue to Goo, Israel looks like they're more culpable in this case. So I got to call it like I see it. Now, it doesn't mean Israel's always more culpable, or it doesn't go to the larger issues of who's right overall between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And even if when you get beyond that, even if you don't agree with me on that, I think you've got to realize, I hope you realize, that it's not really helping Israel anyway. This is the point I was going to get to with Dave in an earlier segment. What are they going to do here? They're going to beat Hamas? There's 20,000 Hamas fighters. They're going to kill them all in this raid? No way. It's not possible. Unless they do whole-scale massacres within the Gaza Strip. Now, some would claim that there are already massacres and over 400 civilians dying. There's a whole lot of civilians dying. But if you put aside whatever you want to call it, they'd have to wipe out thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of civilians to get all the Hamas fighters. It's not going to happen. And they've shown before that if you kill the Hamas leaders, guess what happens the next day? They have new leaders. And oftentimes those leaders are even more radical and more violent and even more pissed because you just killed a previous leader. This is not the way to get the peace. If you are an Israeli and you want what's best for Israel, this is not the answer. The answer is to get your government to the negotiating table in a serious way, where you discuss what percentage of the West Bank is going to be under Israeli control and Palestinian control, and get them with this nonsense PR thing of Hamas and the Palestinians, and hence the Palestinians, will never agree to a peace deal. Well, you don't know until you try. And in fact, they've indicated on numerous occasions that they would. It's defeatist, it's counterproductive, and it's killing Israel.